All right, then. We are now live, Paul of A.G.E Comics. I'll tell you what we need to do is put up our trailer and do a bit of this. Oh, yeah. How's that? Bit of semi-Hitchcock, bit of Planet of the Apes, retro film stuff going on there.
I love it.
That's where we like to do things. Right then, the 5 pillars of storytelling are live. Azrael speaks to A.G.E Comics, A.G.E Comics. We talk art, comics, movies, games, and toys. Think of them as eyes of a needle with golden thread of storytelling going through them. Of course, art goes into comics, comics goes into movies, and it can be made into very profitable movies. Maybe not the last few years, but most of the last 2 decades. We all know what we're talking about there. We don't talk about such things on this show. And yeah, games are even bigger. They're interactive movies, and then you've got toys as well, which have the ultimate effects budget in the privacy of your man-child brain. And nowadays, toys are so articulate and detailed. Todd McFarlane Productions, toy productions. Tell you what, those toys are better than ever. You know what I mean? Beautiful things like, I don't know, Lady Sylvana from World of Warcraft, 16 inches of statuette, Marquette Big Love. Imagine that standing on your glass table. We'll try. We'll not sleep tonight, Paul. Now we mentioned Lady Sylvana. She's just got that voice for us. Anyway, it's Sunday the 9th, Sunday 9th of November. Fall of Man is the indie comic we're going to be talking about. It's 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, London, GB. Not so great these days. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And hey, all you have to do is log in, give us a sub. Helps out us to shine a bigger light on indie comics creators. That's what we're trying to do, build, grow the community. Speaking of which, let's do our host introduction. Then we're going to do this and listen to Paul. Hello there. Welcome to the 5 Pillars of Storytelling Live, where we talk art, comics, movies, games, and toys. I'm your host, Azrael, and my secret identity says, looking into that little green light, trying to connect with his audience, is Carl Prometheus, storyteller, artist, and promoter of indie creators, indie comics, and the indie comics community, trying to do our humble bit to grow the storytelling cake. Our style is universal. We can be watched by creative families, creative adults, and the creative younglings. Our motto is to listen, to learn, and share. Inspiring quote, comics are an international language. They can cross boundaries and generations. Comics are a bridge between all cultures. Osamu Tezuka, legend. Right then, guest introduction. He won't say it, but we'll say the nice things for our guests. They're usually a very modest breed. Paul at A.G.E Comics. Some pros for him. Paul at A.G.E Comics at AGE-Comics- on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. Comic writer, comic letterer. Fall of Man 1 to 3 funding now on at Fund My Comic. That very, very dedicated and indie comics specialist crowdfunder. We say that's just our mail telling us we are now live. Thank you for that, Apple Mac Mail. And welcome to special guest Paul at A.G.E Comics. Welcome, sir.
Yes, thanks for having me.
No problem. We know what we're going to do now is get into big 5 questions. Who is Paul at A.G.E Comics? Storytelling influencers, art journey, movies, and music.
Yeah. So I've been reading comics since I was about 5 or 6. My dad used to take me to this old used store that had comics in the back, and so while he'd be looking at books, I'd be in the back looking at comics. And the first comic I ever got was X-Men 300. and the shiny foil cover with the big team, and I knew nothing about the characters, and I just like, I need to have this book, and it just blew me away. And so I got real heavy into X-Men. Tried a little DC. Didn't land for me the same. But I also came about in a really weird period of DC where Wally West was the main Flash and Kyle Rayner was the main Green Lantern. So like my entire DC understanding was these other characters who stood in, and it didn't make any sense when the other guys came back. And so I largely stuck to Marvel, and like I said with X-Men, Chris Claremont. As soon as I started finding his books, I mean, his storytelling just it just weaves through all of the stuff and just told these huge stories. And I just remember I was about 13 maybe when we got kind of our first big superhero movies, and that was amazing. I was so excited that like it went from being the nerd in the back of the room reading comics to all of a sudden it's like it's on the big screen, like everybody can see it and you can talk about it. And yeah, X-Men, Spider-Man, those first couple big movies they released right around the turn of 2000, and that was big. Yeah, I really enjoy big team books that have really big stakes. And so, yeah, that's what I tried to carry over into my comics.
Tell you what, we think you've got good taste. DC, we're going through a bit of a crisis, we hear, but we're not going to go down that dark road. Don't get Azrael talking about that, folks. Just don't do it. We'll move swiftly on then. Well, tell you what, before we do, okay, you've talked a bit about it being very young, 5 or 6, when you were getting into comics, and obviously the big movies when you were 13. Tell us a bit. Here's one question for you. It's kind of intimated at the end of the prompts. Music. Is it Brian Toledo, Chaos Girl? And he said during the Darkness Wars, that event which we won't talk about too much, of the last 3 years. And he said during one of the YouTube workshops he did was, do you know what? As part of our business plan, when we meet our fans, we've got this band playing in our head. Whenever we do anything out-facing, when we're creating product, when we're meeting the fans, when we're pressing the flesh at conventions, we're this heavy metal band. And then he went on to say what his favorite band was. It could have been Metallica. It wasn't. It was something else. But if you had to name one band where you think, I'm pressing the flesh at the local con, at some conventions, who's the band? What's that song that you think, yeah, for us it'd be Queen, block vocals, Brian May on soaring, Freddie on soaring vocals, and Brian May on scorching guitar. What's the band for you, Paul?
I listen to really kind of obscure music. I really am into heavy metal, but like even heavier than like Metallica, like real heavy screaming, needs to be a mosh pit. And I think kind of that kinetic, like frenetic, wild mosh pit is what I imagine like when I'm writing Fall of Man, because it's just chaotic and it's crazy and it's just loud. And so it would definitely have to be, really big guitar breakdowns, heavy drumming, really fast. There was a band when a while ago. They're old. I guess they're back now. It's called Haste the Day. It's a metal band.
Okay.
And I always think of them and their breakdowns when I'm writing this.
Yeah.
But like I said, obscure. So if I had to think of something more mainstream, I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. I don't know.
Is it that towering ambition in the sound, that towering energy that makes you think of that? Is that what you bring to comics, indie comics? And is that why that's kind of part of you and you put that into comics as well?
Yeah, I mean, like when you think of those breakdowns and just the heavy screaming, like you could just feel the passion, like it just fills the room, and like that's really what I want to bring with my writing, is just feel the passion for the project and leaving it all out there on the field.
Almost cinematic, big block visuals.
Yes,
leaving it all out there on the page. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, don't worry, we're coming to that. We enjoyed putting some of the artwork into our presentation for you. All right, then. So we've got a sense of the energy you bring into comics. So what does Paul at A.G.E Comics create? What's your elevator pitch? Let's say Azrael flies across Mere Pond, that is the Atlantic Ocean, and sets down next to your convention table. And he asks, sell us something. Tell us all about your indie comic. What's your convention table pitch for us?
So this comic, it picks up in the aftermath of the destruction of the world. There's just few people left, and the world as we know it is completely gone. Just this dystopian wasteland. Giant monsters have risen, and the only people left are people with powers. And so you've got these struggling separate tribes trying to survive against giant kaiju that roam the earth and destroy. And it's just a fight for survival to the next day from not only the giant monsters but also other tribes. There's only so much out there. There's only so much that you can do to keep yourself safe, and every day brings new challenges.
Fighting to survive in the world of a darkest power, Queen. Right then, we couldn't resist some of your visuals. We had to squeeze them in there. Fall of Man. This gives a nice taster. The story. Wow, what do you say to that? Just look. Let's just appreciate it quietly for a moment, folks. Especially those people on the restream later. You're watching Dave on the restream. Shout out to you and your brilliant Peresian, perfect 10 books. They really are that good. Shout out to Dave Brinks. He's one of the pioneers and leaders in the indie comics field for proof positive that indie comics can do superhero comics if proof be needed. Speaking of which, do you want to do the voiceover or are we going to do it?
I don't know if I have the cinematic voice for it, but sure. Tell the tale of it. Yeah. So it's 1957. The Korean War has become the new World War. The world has been destroyed as we know it. Nuclear bombs have been dropped across the continent. The Russians and the Chinese have officially joined the war.
Let's keep going. We like that. We like it a lot.
The major powers drop a new kind of nuclear bomb.
Tell you what, like that reflective image in the eye. We've got a bit of a thing for reflections in our comic book covers and panels and stuff like that. Must be something to being an Iron Man fan.
Yeah, that was one of the first images that I told the guy that's how I wanted to open, because I wanted to like really get like what the sense would be if you were there. Like if you saw that happening, like, you know, it's one thing to kind of look down and like, oh yeah, okay, a bomb dropped, but like what does it feel like from the person on the ground seeing that and like knowing your world has just completely changed. And so
almost that Alex Ross Marvel's vibe, you know, like you're kind of participant observer, you're actually there in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right then, keep going, you're doing a great job.
The world didn't end. Instead, powers emerged. Society quickly crumbled.
Yes. By the way, John Long, 1738 says, well, let's put it up so you can see it for yourself. Love that reflection pick.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome, John Long from the heavyweight, 7 rounds, TKO. Let's do a little shout out for him. Premise, John's Long Box. A dark conspiracy surrounds gold-blooded boxers with nose-breaking action. We've got the first 2 issues. We have a T-shirt. We slept in that T-shirt the other night. And yeah, he's got 7 paper issues out. So as our grandmother once said, John Long, you must have something. Nice one. Good to have you in the chat tonight, John. By the way, we've retweeted you on the 5 Puzzle Storytelling on X. Yeah, just saying. So yes, editor's note. Let's move swiftly on. Next bit, we want to hear you, Paul. Let's give it to us.
All right. We thought it was a new age. We thought those of us who were special would inherit the earth. But when the solar flare hit, technology died and ushered in a dark new age. But what came next was even worse.
Love it. We love it when they do that. Great stuff. Absolutely. Keep going.
I forgot what I wrote. I changed this for the campaign. I put more story in because this page, all it says in the comic is it became an age of monsters. And I just wanted the kaiju to breathe, you know, to have the whole page.
Go for it then. Fresh start. Give us whatever you want. Paraphrase it, mix the 2, or give us the new bit. We don't mind. Let us have it. Beautiful picture, by the way. That's what we call cinematic splash page heaven. Are you watching Team Red over the last 2 years?
Yeah, it became an age of monsters. Now, as we enter the new age, man must fight for survival against the elements, the monsters, and other men. Who will survive?
Pitch perfect. That's what we want. That's what we want. Now, take a look, folks, especially those people in the future watching this in your present. What we say, this is a beautiful cover. Let's drink it in visually. Feast for the eyes. Tell us about your artist and this cover, Paul.
So this cover was done by a guy named Elliot Rodriguez. If you've seen his comic around Ominous, he was just funding that. I really interesting. So I have a different interior artist that I've been working with, but I hadn't had a cover yet. And I saw some of his art, and I thought I just need to see him draw a kaiju. So I reached out to him, and he was super excited to do it. And so this is actually the first cover I ever got. I always have 2 covers per campaign. And so his comic was first. So as I put this volume together that collects all 3 for this campaign, I really wanted his art to be on there first because this was the first cover we got. And I said what I really wanted was the that kaiju from the last page you just showed. I just really wanted him coming up, really like taking a lot of the space, looking very threatening, and then seeing some of the superheroes fight back against him. And so we settled on these 3. He liked a couple of them that could shoot, and then we put the flying guy in there too. And I wanted this to be like illustrative of like the size and the scale of like the kaiju that are there versus these people who are trying to fight them. And after he got done, and after we had it colored, it has a little bit of a tinge of the famous Fantastic Four cover from the 60s of the monster coming out, and I thought that was so fitting. But yeah, this is kind of the first introduction to the world right here.
A homage, a semi-homage to Fantastic Four #1 by Jack Kirby. Yeah, that's but it's the beginning of the Jack Kirby universe as far as we're concerned. Yes, that's what we're saying, folks. Just saying. Let's move swiftly on to the next page before we get ourselves in trouble. Tell us about this page. Bit of interior art here, Paul.
Yep. So this is by the interior artist Ben Worrell, and this is picking up right after the second issue. So for those who are new to the world of Fall of Man, we kind of introduce the world and how it's going. We see a couple of different tribes. We see some monsters, but it really settles among these guys on the picture here. They were a tribe called the Outcasts, and they were just a bunch of random people collected in the wasteland. In this new world with these, all that's left are people with powers and monsters. And a few people are born as basically telepaths, and they can control the kaiju. They can actually like make them subservient to them. So most of these tribes settle around some person who can control the kaiju to keep them safe. But this particular tribe believed that it was their mission to go out and do good things, rescue people, save people, stop other tribes from doing bad things. And so a lot of the people that you see here were part of people who went out into the wasteland. Well, unfortunately, they make a bad decision, bring that trouble home, and their tribe is scattered. Some of them are captured, some of them, missing, killed. And so now these guys are on a path to try to get their people back. And between getting justice and getting revenge, which is a very thin line when you're very angry and your whole world's been destroyed. So that was kind of issue 1. And then issue 2, they're trying to find people because they know they're outmatched by the people who attack them. They know that they've got more monsters, they've got more superpowered people. So they're looking for friends, and they run into a basically a cult. They actually worship their kaiju, and they try to sacrifice some of them. And there's this whole fight. I really wanted to give an insight into how different these worlds can be. They can be near each other and yet completely in these silos grow up in completely different cultures. And so it doesn't go well. They have to fight this other tribe trying to survive. And as you can see, this page opens up. The guy in red, his name is Vlast. He's very angry at the guy he's punching, Kalat. He blames him for it. And so it opens up showing these fractures in this party that not only is it hard enough to survive in the world, but now we're seeing breaks between these guys who didn't really love each other from the beginning, and now it's a lot worse.
Gotcha. Right then. I tell you what, we can feel the passion from here, Paul. Keep it coming.
Yeah. So yeah, basically they're arguing, there's like, this was your fault and all of these problems. And I really wanted to give a human element, all of these characters bring something to the table. The guy that got punched in the last page, he's the reluctant leader. He's probably the most powerful as well. He controls lightning. He was able to bring down a kaiju once by himself. There's this kind of legend around him that he's pretty powerful. The guy who punched him has super strength, and he really thinks with his fists rather than his head. He's really angry. He's really brash, and he blames him for a lot. He wants to be the leader, and he can't. And you've got the guy in the corner there. He's made of rock. He's the jokester. Anything that happened, he grew up in the kaiju slave pits. He was entertainment for people. Bred in circuses. He was one of the more mutated ones. He was treated as less human, so he was tossed in the pits, and so he figured out how to joke to make things better. So anytime you see him, he is first to jump in the action, but he'll make a joke as he goes along. And so that's kind of where his introduction here is. And so this kind of all these loud personalities are kind of crashing into each other. But as you can see right in the middle there, the giant rumble, you can't let your guard down for long, because as soon as you do, something terrible happens. And you can see by the bottom of the page, something bad's about to happen to that guy. So
there's that tension. You're never far away. So you're always on edge in that environment with kaijus and superpowered beings. Yes, because that's what it's down to. Yeah.
Yes.
And the fact that they can be controlled is interesting.
Yes, but
powerful stuff.
Only by a few. So, it's created like a real hierarchy, and depends on, what tribe you're at. This tribe, before they were attacked, had a benevolent leader. He was good. He wanted to help people. Most of the people you're going to run into are not good, and they use that power badly.
Almost like tension when two tribes go to war.
Yes.
Tell us this one. Sell us this. Show us the money on this one. What a beauty.
Again, this is just the introduction to a new kaiju. You've never seen this kaiju before. Every issue I try to bring a new kaiju. This one I wanted to give it kind of a Lovecraftian feel a little bit, as you can see with the tentacles and coming out of the water. These kaiju are so different and so wild that I just really wanted to make them feel very alive. Like you're not just seeing the same monster over and over again. You're really feeling that every corner of the world is full of monsters and full of danger, and for no good reason. They just want to wipe out humanity, and so they're always in danger. And so I wanted this, not only the monster to feel taking up the whole page, but even his noise just feels, the letters are bigger than the people, because I wanted to feel like just the noise is just so crushing that you have to be on your guard at all times.
Tsunami storytelling, organic kaiju, widescreen lettering, and even those with power are dwarfed.
Yes.
We like it. Paul, we like it a lot. Let's keep going. Okay. Now, tell us about the crates, please, Paul.
Sure. So I got into lettering about 5 years ago, and storytelling about 5 years ago. I think I had a story like a lot of people at that time. I got sent home from my day job. We couldn't leave, right? So I was sitting at home with all of my children and my wife, and I've been telling my kids stories for years, and my wife kept being like, "You should write that down. You should write that, like, make it a story." And I was like, "My stories are dumb. I don't want to do that." And so, I was home, and I was working at a computer like this. I was teaching my students. I'm a college professor by day, so I was talking to students, and then I would have several hours where I'd sit at home, and I was like, I turned around one day to my wife, and I'm like, "I'm gonna write a story. I'm gonna see how it can go. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm gonna write the story down. I'm gonna see if I can find an artist. I don't even know what this will cost, what it'll look like, what it'll do. I'm just gonna jump in with both feet and see what happens." And so I did. I wrote up a story that was not this story. I wrote up an entirely different story, and I found an artist, and I thought it was going great, and it went nowhere. I got a total of about 3 pages of that comic written or drawn for me, and it just never took off. The artist kept having problems, and I got like 3 different versions of the same page, and I was like, I just want the next page, and it kind of fell apart. But in that time, it gave me time to be like, okay, this isn't really working, but I don't want to stop the creative process. I want to keep telling stories. So I wrote this story in the space, and while I was waiting for this to happen, and this went on for about a year, trying to get this guy to write this, it just delay after delay. And so I just took a plunge, and I reached out to Ben, the other guy on the picture here. I just found him on Facebook, and I was like, "Hey, I really like some of the drawings I saw. Can you draw giant monsters?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then I think it was about 3 weeks later, I had 4 pages already. I already had more than the entire year I'd been waiting on the other comic. And so we just jumped in, both of us. He just churned out the pages super quick.
Quick.
Really made the story come alive. And so we put together the first comic, and I crowdfunded it. So while I was doing that, I became really fascinated with lettering. I can't explain it why. I'm not exactly an attention to detail kind of person or anything, but like it just seemed really interesting how like lettering will transform a page. Like, I mean, everybody, if you don't notice the lettering, it's probably because they did it well, and it just seamlessly goes into the thing. But everybody can tell when the lettering's bad. It just stops the page. And as I started reading indie comics, I really started to notice a difference between some who did it really, really well and some who I found myself more on the words getting caught up in that. So I kind of threw myself into that too, and I just self-trained myself, and I've been doing that for 5 years.
Tell you what, you've been on a journey, haven't you? From something that just wasn't coming after a year, and all of a sudden, in that gap, in that process where you're reflecting, this isn't working, but you found something that did work, and you happened upon Benjamin Worrell.
Yep.
I have to say, he's big cinematic visuals, and he's quick as well.
Yes.
That sounds like the twin pillars of what you want in an artist: somebody who's big, larger than life, and he's efficient as well. That is exactly what you want. I think you've fallen on your feet there with him. It sounds like you've got that chemistry, yeah. And chemistry between creators is so essential, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, and he's a super nice guy. And if I ever send him like notes, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll totally change that," or "Yeah, we could totally rework this page." And he's just always up. Like he's never been like, "I don't think I can do that." He's like, "Oh, you want this? Here's how we'll do it." Like he's up for it. So
there's that natural two backwards and throwing. It's a lovely complementary process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Right then, these are the variant covers. We thought we'd like you to tell us a little bit about those.
Yep. So the first one on the left, that's the one done by the interior artist. That's the one done by Ben Worrell. I really like each issue showcasing one of the characters. Sometimes I feel like in team books, you kind of like lose some of the characters, or they kind of go in the background. And it would be really easy to just tell the story from the main leader's perspective, the lightning guy, and just like have all the others kind of be background filler. And I don't want that. And so, in the second issue, I spent a lot of time focused on the winged guy. This one, I just wanted to put a different character front and center. So this is the rock guy. He shoots magma. And I thought it'd be a great juxtaposition of having this Lovecraftian water guy attacking the fire guy. I just thought the two elements coming together on the page would look good. And so that was where the first one came from. And then, as I said, that first cover that we looked at by Elliot, he's done an alternate cover every campaign I've had. So I did the first campaign and he did the cover we looked at. And then the second campaign, he did a wraparound whole team cover. And then I did a second chance Kickstarter just to see what the Kickstarter market was like. And so he actually did a variant for that one too, that involved actually a guy who paid to be drawn into the comic. He paid to be in there, and he was very, very generous and very kind. So we made a piece of art with him on it, just him and a monster. But it was just so cool, I couldn't not use it as a cover. So that's actually the number 2 cover that's available by itself on the campaign. And then he did number 3 here. He went all out, really leaning harder into the Lovecraftian nature of the monster. And I just love seeing them next to each other and just kind of the different takes. One's kind of a larger, more zoomed out picture, and then one's just like the monster's right front and center. And I also like that he chose, he asked which character I'd like there, and he thought it'd be cool to put the lightning guy there. Another juxtaposition of water versus lightning, trying to kind of balance a little for what you can. But
tell you what, proof positive, we say that indie comics, variant covers are proven to be an indie comic speciality, and it's another way you can get extra revenue streams by giving people choice, and you're giving people with deeper pockets a chance to be customers too, to the extent of their wallet, of course. So yes, we are constantly amazed when we have guests on the show and we see the variant covers. We're thinking, you know what, the standard is there now in indie comics, and this is proof of it.
Yeah.
Now, surprise here. We know why this is special.
Yes.
If we had Peter Simetti on the show, we'd start talking about smelling comics nostalgically for about 5 minutes. It turned into 3 hours actually, before he needed a lawyer and a big window to get out of the show. But tell us about what's special about this issue. You know
Yeah.
why, I know why. You tell us why it's special.
So this is a newsprint edition, and so this is, you know, if you're an old enough comic reader, you'll remember how the pages used to feel when you read them, and you know, if you've ever read an alternate issue, you know that that's the kind of, and I just, there's just something fun about those old comics like that, the old style like that. And so I just, you know, he bought a printer and he started he said, you know, I'll print comics for you. And I thought, what a fun idea. So I thought it would be really fun to see my comic in this old newsprint style, see what it feels like, and just kind of, you know, throw back to, you know, when we were younger. So, and then so the cover was a guy by the name of Don Edwards. He was randomly offering a break on commissions. I don't remember why, some reason, but I was like, I will totally try. I have no idea what to expect. I reached out to him. He was wonderful. He was delightful. He was super nice. And then he gave me kind of a rough outline of what's happening. I was like, there's some cool potential here. And then he gave me the finished product, and I was like, this is way better than I like. Not that I didn't doubt his skill, but based on what he was asking for commission, it was way more than I deserved to get. And he just brought this, you know, great picture of this woman. Her name's Daydream. She's a precog, and so, you know, she's fighting the tentacled monster from the ground, again giving you kind of more intimate view of the characters in the world.
I'll tell you what, you don't have to reveal your pricing or anything, but in terms of source costing, we take it the others are print on demand and these are newsprint. How does that cost and vary? Is it about the same?
It's just it depends on the number you buy. If you're buying like low numbers, it's pretty comparable to everything else. But based on what I think the newsprint that I'll be making is versus kind of the bulk I'll be buying, it's just a little bit more, just a slightly more expensive. But you get a very different product, and you get what you pay for. It's the quality you're paying for, and so yeah, it's definitely worth it.
Newsprint, nostalgia, the era of bronze.
Yep.
We can smell it now, we can see it, we can feel it. Oh yes, a shrewd and prudent move. We think that's going to go down well. Why do you create indie comics? Is it creative control? Is it the power? And when did your journey with indie comics begin? I think you intimated that your journey with comics began 5 to 6, but what about specifically your journey with indie comics?
Yeah, it actually wasn't much before that. The year before, actually, I think it was 2019. My wife and I were driving home from Arizona. See, we're from the middle of the country where we believe you can drive anywhere, even if it is cramming 6 kids into a minivan for 24 hours straight. We think we can do it. So it's about a 22-hour drive we're on, and we pulled into this gas station, and I was on Twitter randomly, and there was a man who posted. His name is Aaron Lopresti. I don't know if you've heard of him, but I figured you have. Most people have, if you're in the indie comic scene. And he was just being ruthlessly attacked for wanting to go independent, and people were calling him all kinds of names, and I had no idea what this was. My understanding of indie comics was so superficially deep. I didn't know what it was, and so I started looking at stuff, and I was like, I don't know why they're attacking him, but his comic looks really great. And so I actually, while I was at the rest stop, ordered his comic to buy it, Wraith of God #1, and sent it to me. And that was the very first indie comic I got. And I read it, and I was like, this is fantastic. Like, look at this cool story he told of these original characters, and like with the creative control. And that's, I think, what kind of got the wheels turning, because I had been a pretty avid comic book reader up until about maybe 2 years before that. And I just got apathetic to the world of Marvel and DC. All of their relaunches and the way that they were just changing characters for no good reason, and the constant reboots. And I was like, I'm not even mad. I just don't care. And that's like the worst thing that can happen to a franchise. It's not, at least if you're mad, you're still, you know, getting involved and relating with it. But apathetic, you're like, I just don't care. And so I had kind of fallen. Yeah, go ahead.
No, keep going. No, I'm saying like same with apathy. It's over. So that should galvanized you. What
Yeah.
was happening in indie comics was sort of like a spark. So you're paying attention. That moment of serendipity at the petrol station. You're randomly on Twitter. Keep going.
Yeah.
We're really into it. What you were saying.
Yep. And something I realized, kind of what you said about having the power. It's not like I want complete power, because I like working on other people's books as well. But I like that you can make a book with stakes. I like that you can make a book that like what the decisions matter and they're permanent. In this comic that I'm writing, the characters are going to grow, they're going to age, some are going to die, like, and it's permanent. There's not going to be any, like, multiverse or bringing other versions back or bringing, like, they're just, if they die, they die. They're dead, and they move on. These people are going to get older. New heroes are going to come in. Like, it's a world that's going to breathe and grow and be allowed to continue to change. Which, again, in mainstream, you just don't see. I mean, how long has Peter Parker been a broke college student who's sad? Like, I mean, he's a fun character. He's known around the world, but like, how many times are we going to tell that story? And even when he was allowed to grow, they always had to reset the status quo, whether it's through brand new day or what, I don't talk about that, but it just didn't matter. And whatever big thing happened in comics, mainstream comics, you're like, well, it'll just be reset in 6 months anyway. So like, yeah, I probably the closest to mainstream comics that like kind of had that status quo change was like Invincible. If you've ever read any of that, those characters, whether you like it or don't, I know it's kind of in the middle for some people, but they're at least allowed to change. They're allowed to grow. The decisions matter. And so I was really drawn to that in the indie world. Like, you make these characters, you get to tell the story, and you get to let your story breathe organically.
Perfection. You've gone from don't matter comics to consequential comics. Amen. Brilliant answer, we have to say. What advice would you give aspiring creators?
Take a chance. I know for a lot of people I've talked to, they're like, well, I don't even know if people will be interested. I don't know if they'll like the story. Take a chance. Get some of that story out there, because my journey through indie comics has been wonderful. I've met delightful people who have been so kind and so encouraging and come alongside me, and I've learned a lot from them. So like I did, I jumped in. I had no idea what I was doing, but I found cool artists, cool storytellers, and people that they're willing to help. And I think that if you're kind and you put good stuff out there, I think it will come back. And I think that's what's really cool about the indie scene, because we do want people to succeed. We do want to see people do well. I know not everybody has that experience, but that's been my experience overwhelmingly. And so, yeah, and just keep learning would be the other thing I would say. Don't, like, one of the pitfalls of writing your own story is like, well, I wrote the story exactly how I want, and I don't think it needs to change in any way. And you kind of get stagnant. And then, if you're not willing to see new ways to do things or reevaluate your story sometimes, I think sometimes you can miss out on the cool thing you can do. So never stop honing your craft, whatever it is, whether it's artist or lettering or writing. Keep pushing the boundaries.
That's the perfect answer. What superhero would you be? That was a great answer. We're being quiet because you've told us everything we need to hear. What superhero would you be? Now, we'd go for probably Wonder Woman or Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. Let's be clear on that matter. And probably Linda Carter's Wonder Woman, just saying. So what superhero would you be, Paul, and why?
I've had this conversation with my wife a few times, actually. I've debated this.
Pray
and
tell.
I think I've settled. I would, if I could get any power, I would choose to be Multiple Man. Because,
really? Come on.
Yes, because then I could send out all my dupes to do all of the things that I need to do. Like I said, I got 6 kids. I've got a full career plus this. Like, I could send them out to do the things. But also, I find it fascinating that wherever he sends anybody, they can learn, and then he reabsorbs that knowledge. So you could just continue to use this to learn all those things. Like, oh, I'd love to learn that, or I'd love to learn a new language, or I want to learn to draw better. Like, just make a copy yourself, have them do it day in, day out, and then reabsorb all that knowledge. It's a shortcut to, to cheat for whatever you want to learn. So I just feel like that would give me the time to do it and time to be present in everything I want to be present in. And, if there's, a crime going on, also I could create an entire army and go fight them. So, in the fantastical world, it's great too. But in the real world, I just think it's so many applications of being multiple man.
Wow. We just need to be multiple man just because we need a team of specialists on us. But it sounds like you already are multiple man from what we're hearing tonight. We don't have to say anything. You're saying it. Wow, what an answer. Bonus questions, not too many. What are your plans for Paul at A.G.E Comics going forwards?
Sure. So in this series that I'm writing, the first arc is 6 issues long. So we're at the halfway point now of the first arc. I've mapped out the next 2 arcs. So I've gotten through issue 7 fully written, 8 partially written, and I've got through about 14 or 15 mapped out. So this is a world that I want to stay a lot of time in. I want to spend a lot of time in and really let it grow. I've got a kind of an offshoot planned maybe down the road if I can keep this comic going. I would also love to return to that original comic I wrote. It was actually a trilogy I wrote. It was a little bit of a thicker book. And I would like to get back into that, if for nothing else, that I started there and I really want to see it. But I think it's also a pretty interesting story. I probably have 5 or 6 different series, not in this world, entirely different series written and ideas, and I would like to expand. But I want to really build these issues first. I want to do the first arc first, because I mentioned this on Twitter the other day. I was reading some indie comics. I made the plan to read an indie comic every day of October, see if I could get through it, and I did, and I still have. Actually, I've kept it going. So I'm about 40 issues in, straight in a row, and I got to this point where I was reading some comics, and they ended on a cliffhanger, and then the creator never made another issue. So I read to the end, and I'm like, oh, cool, where's it going? And then I'm like, oh, that guy left Twitter 3 years ago and stopped drawing 4 years ago. Like, I'm never gonna get a conclusion. So before I do really anything else, I want to at least complete this first arc, because I want a complete story for the people out there who are following this, who are reading it, so that they don't have to wonder. So,
and you'll put yours fold into a trade so they couldn't get it all in one spot.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things I did as kind of at the halfway point for people jumping in now. There's volume 1 available. I have issue 1, 2, and 3. And then some bonus art and some stuff in the background. So the trade, the smaller trade this time, it's over 100 pages is that's what it'll be.
That's good.
And then when I get to 6, I think I'll do a volume 2 trade of the 3 issues, or I'll do a hardback of all 6. For those collectors out there who enjoy the hardback and like how it looks on their shelves.
So you can have 2 softcover trades and 1 hardback. I tell you, that's going to be a great campaign when you get to that point.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I had to take a pause. Let's see, what was it? It was February of 2024. I was hanging out with my kids playing, and we were playing a game called Human Foosball. It's like foosball, but with full size, and you had these metal bars you hang on to, and we were sliding back and forth, and I tried to kick the ball, and I missed and hit the metal bar, and I severed all of the tendons of my kneecap and got my kneecap lodged about 10 inches north into my thigh, and so I had to have completely reconstructive surgery on that. I had to learn how to re-walk and everything, so I lost about an entire year on campaigning, unfortunately, and so I had to be away for a while. I tried, but it was there's other pressing things, and so that was when I launched the Kickstarter second chance, just to kind of keep the book out there and talk about it and see people. And so unfortunately, I feel like I kind of made some backwards progress between campaign 2 and 3, because I just had to be out of the world for so long. And when you go missing for a while, I mean, it's a small scene where you recognize when people are missing, but at the same time, your memory only is so long. So kind of trying to rebuild right now with this campaign.
How's your knee? Better.
It's still about double the size of the other one, but I am back to running, so it's very exciting. Cool. I had to wait 10 days for even the surgery. They couldn't even get me in, and then I couldn't move for about a month and a half on my own. And then I didn't start walking until about 6 months after it happened. So pretty long, intensive physical therapy. But it's better now. It's I'm about a year and a half out now. So I have a guy I know who actually had the same thing happen to him about 5 years ago, and he tells me horror stories. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna hope I don't recover like you. I'm gonna hope I get a little further ahead. So, but feeling good. So
God bless you.
No more distractions.
No. God bless you. You've come through a bit of a journey, adversity, and you've come through it. And if you could run again, you're certainly going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Now, sir, favorite pizza?
I'm actually really usually a very plain person. I very like pepperoni. That's usually my go-to. But the more meat, the better. That's usually my. I don't need vegetables. Just give me as many kinds of meat as you want and put it on there, and I'll eat it.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good to us. Now, where can they find out about A.G.E Comics? Fall of Man. Tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, so I hang out on Twitter most of the time. I am on Facebook too, but I know most people only are on Facebook to talk to their parents or when they lose a bet with somebody. You don't go on there very much anymore. So I spend most of my time on Twitter. I've been kicking around the idea of starting a YouTube channel, getting out there and talking a little bit to some people, giving people platforms like what you're doing. But you got to work that into the schedule. So right now it's just largely on Twitter.
Do it. Promote your book. Promote yourself. Fall of Man, do it. And as this other project with your Never Say Die attitude comes to the fore, you can launch that as well. Have guests on. I think you've got the right kind of energy to do it, Paul. Go for it.
Thank you.
Just a match schedule.
That's something I always worry about. I don't do this very often. You're probably in the history of all 4 of my campaigns, you're probably maybe the 10th or 12th show I've been on. Like I don't really do this. So I never know. I was like, do people want to listen? Do they want to hear what I have to say? So I don't know.
People have a voracious appetite for content and want to discover something new. And let's just say you've got somebody there doing the Sunday chores and they're listening to you, me, us in the background while they're hoovering or whatever they're doing, doing the pots to be a good house husband. And, we think you've got a lot to say. It's good stuff. It's efficient. It rings with the truth of the universe. It's ringing in our ears. What do we say? Thank you for being our special guest, Paul, at A.G.E Comics. We wish you well, coming through the adversity of busting your knee, to the rehab, and getting back to running. Paul at A.G.E Comics, what can we say? Yes, Godspeed, but you have rattled through our 5+ storytelling show tonight with such energy, vibe, verve, and the harmonic resonance of the universe. And it's all good stuff. Anybody catches this restream is going to get somebody who is thoroughly committed to the cause and has got even more to give. And it's still early days at issue 3. And from what we've heard tonight, we didn't have to say a single thing. You said it all for us. And we say, look into the green light. Perfect guest. Perfect answers. And weighing in at 48 minutes and 55 seconds, the previous land speed record holder was John Dexter of Alpha Dogs. And you've done him by 6 minutes. But all good stuff. Well done to you, sir. There you go. We're just amazed. And that's just our email reminding us that tonight is time sensitive. We'd say weighing in at 48 minutes, that's impressive. So what we're going to do is say we're going to keep an eye on you on Twitter. If you want your indie comics promoted via our Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, or Up Portfolio Day on Thursday, and we might even have a little gander at you on our Saturday Creative Leadership Day as well. There's plenty of options there to promote your A.G.E Comics, yeah? We've seen you out and about, but I tell you what, we think you've got more to give the community, and more to come going forward. So I think from what we've heard tonight, it augurs well for your future. So God bless you, Paul, and thanks for being a guest on our show. It's been a privilege.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Right then, I think what we need now is our outro music. Let's do it.